So thanks for being here. I'm Landon, CEO and founder of Entreport. I'm gonna have to wear my glasses so I can see my screen. As I was just mentioning, we're using some new technology today, so I hope it goes smoothly. And if not, you can watch the replay too. What we're here to do today is to talk about some technological changes that are going to impact the internet as a whole and your industry in particular. And we want to talk about why we know these are coming, what they are, and to begin to have the conversation together about what you're going to do about these changes, how you're going to be able to take advantage of them, avoid being blindsided by competitors that may take advantage of them. And like I said, this is going to be the first of a three-part conversation. The first one today, the goal for the day is just to share about what these changes are and to show you why I am 100% certain that these changes are coming and that they're going to impact your industry, and to begin to open your mind about what's coming and to get you thinking about how to respond, what you might do over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months to adapt to what is absolutely going to be a changing landscape. So let's get started. The forces driving change. So I want to start by talking about why I'm positive this is happening. I'm not going out on some crazy limb here and predicting some far off distant future. This is 100% absolutely going to happen. It's going to happen because A, it's already happening. We can see it all over, and I'm going to show you examples. And it's also inevitable because what I'm going to describe here always happens in technology, and we're just able to see it coming right now because we've been looking. And so I'm just going to be pointing out a couple of fundamentals and ideally turn your attention to some of these really obvious changes that are not at all hard to predict if you're looking. So here's one of these fundamentals that I'm talking about. People value their time. Obviously, this is not debatable, right? It's obvious. It's never going to change. Time, of course, is our most precious resource. But here's why that's important. People valuing their time is why niche marketing works. And it's why it's always worked, and it's why it will always work. And how am I drawing that connection? Is because ultimately, when you think about niche marketing, the goal of that sort of strategy is to have your prospects and customers feel like the solution you're providing is designed for them, right? And people reasonably and correctly believe the solutions that are designed for them are going to work better, right? And they're going to work faster. And so when we are targeted by something that feels like it's designed for us, we respond in higher numbers, and that's why niche marketing works, right? Somebody tells you, exercise and eat right. That is not as compelling as, TRX and keto for men over 40 with belly fat that they wish they didn't have. Or, spend less than you earn is less compelling of a message than, here's a custom financial plan based on your goals for young professionals in, high cost of living areas or whatever it might be. Get couples counseling is not nearly as compelling as an offer like, here's a step-by-step program for, recovering after someone cheats, right? We feel like those are going to work better because they're targeted at our exact problems. And we're usually right about that, right? Custom solutions work better, feels like it's going to save us time and money and fix the problem faster. People valuing their time is also why personalized, streamlined services are so much more successful than generalized ones, right? If you look at the most valuable companies in the world, it's no surprise that 4 out of 6 of them are companies that are creating the most personalized, slickest, targeted experiences available anywhere on the internet. Those companies, of course, are Facebook and Apple and Amazon and Google. The other two are like Saudi Arabian oil and Microsoft, which I guess proves that it's hard to bust up a monopoly. But the reason that those big companies have won is because they invested very early and very heavily into the idea of creating personalized, streamlined experiences designed just for their viewers, right? When you go to Amazon, you're not seeing the same thing that I see when I go to Amazon, and that's of course true for Facebook and all these other services. Even Google, the search results are heavily targeted specifically at you. The days when everybody saw the same thing when you type in a search term are long behind us. So these guys did it big. Facebook, Amazon, Netflix also, right? When you log into Netflix, you're not seeing the same thing that I am. And that's why people keep coming back to Netflix, is because the experience is targeted and personalized. And so the fact that these guys won leads us to kind of this second timeless truth. All technology gets cheaper and faster and easier, right? We know that's true. We've seen it in our lifetimes over and over and over again. If you think about hardware, it's obvious, right? The cell phone didn't exist when I was a kid. Now I've got like a supercomputer in my pocket and wireless charging. It's crazy. Computers, chips, rocket ships, right? Now we have private companies shuttling our government contractors to the moon, or to the space station rather. Unthinkable generation ago. So this is, like a law of technology, that it gets cheaper, faster, and easier. What's interesting, and that you may not have realized, is that this is also true for software, not just hardware. It gets cheaper and faster and easier. If you think about any piece of software that you use on a daily basis, you can if you've been around a while, you can probably think back to a more complicated, harder to use, less functional, maybe more expensive version that you had to deal with in the past, right? Email marketing, just making a website used to be a pain, right? Does anybody remember Dreamweaver? Now, of course, drag and drop website building is the norm. That trend of cheaper, faster, better, easier is also true when it comes to custom coding, like actually the work that engineers do. It used to be that everything was C++ and Java and Oracle databases and really hardcore engineers taking forever to build anything. And now we live in a world where it's frameworks and plugins and simple scripts that get kind of plugged together, and far less experienced engineers can get the same projects done in a fraction of the time. And so that inevitable drive towards simplicity and speed and cheapness and easiness is already showing up in our own industries, right? The massive investments that Facebook and Google and Apple and Amazon had to make in order to create these highly targeted, personalized experiences has kind of clunked down into the next level. It's not just the biggest companies in the world that are able to create these things now. Now what we're seeing is that in our own industries, there are players that are popping up and creating these kind of experiences in finance, in health, in education, in personal development. And let me just show you what I'm talking about, some specific examples here. This year, I just picked some random local, we're in Santa Barbara, if you didn't know that. I picked some random local Santa Barbara, financial advisor. And, this website looks familiar to us all, right? I'm sure these guys have a nice business. I don't know them. I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but this experience is not about me. They try to kind of break it down like, oh, it's retirees and professionals and business owners and independent women and endowments and next generation investors. But in general, this is a one size fits all sort of a static experience. Meanwhile, these poor people have betterment to contend with, who have come in the market with a software application that has completely upended their industry, right? Now, this is not the kind of software application that is built by moms and pops. This is a very well-funded, highly capable engineering team, obviously, and product team that have built this. But this has also been in the market for I don't know what, maybe a decade now. What's interesting is that as much as Mission Wealth here in Santa Barbara have undoubtedly created themselves a fine business, this Betterment company just raised $160 million at a $1.3 billion valuation last, I guess that's a couple of months ago. That's a different whole category of success. And it's based on delivering a personalized software experience into an existing market, right? If we move on, this is just some random, I think a money coach that I found by Googling. This person knows how to do SEO because they came up at the top of the rankings. But she's in Milpitas, I guess. But this sort of, I help working professionals get their finances in order. Well, that's cool. And I'm sure that Tay here has a fine business. But Tay now is going to have to deal with the money coach, which is a modern money manager and budgeting app, right? Money Coach makes your life easier. I am sure that Tay does not have 1 million happy users. And this sort of experience is absolutely going to impact her ability to compete, right? People are going to ask the question, why should I X when I could this, right? Oh God, I'm getting popped up here. Can I get out of this pop-up? I don't know if I even can. No, can't get rid of this. There it goes. Here is an example in old school new body. Again, I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus. I don't know who this is. I just found a weight loss type of website here, and we all recognize this, right? This sort of static, like sales lettery kind of experience is cool, and I'm sure that these guys at Old School New Body have a fine business, but now these guys have to compete with Noom, which is, if you haven't heard of it, which you probably have, is taking over the weight loss industry, and they're doing it with effectively an app. And it's an app that is personalized for you. It says right here, right? Personalized for you, one-on-one coaching, support groups. It's got community built in, and then there's tracking, which presumably a good personal trainer would do as well. But these guys are doing it in a way that makes it feel like it's designed for them, for the recipient, and in a really slick experience. And what has that caused? Well, that's caused Noom to let's see, $540 million raised in May at a $3.7 billion valuation. Now, I'm sure that, like I said, these guys have a fine business, but this is a different category of success and presumably a different category of difference that these guys are making in their industries. And undoubtedly, Old School New Body has now got to compete with these folks at Noom. They're going to lose business to these guys for sure. Here in Santa Barbara, here's like another fitness app I found. Doug and Michelle, I'm sure they're great people. I don't know, but but now we have future.co, a coach, a fitness plan, all the tools you need to succeed. This is an app that is basically creating personalized workout plans and killing it. These guys just raised $24 million Series B. They've got, 169 employees, 35 million in funding. These guys are killing it at another level, right? To look into another industry, the sort of training and coaching industry. Tom Hess, I don't know if anybody plays guitar, but Tom Hess is a legend. This guy has been around for a zillion years in the online guitar space. But unfortunately for Tom Hess, he is still playing the game that was cutting edge 10 years ago. And Tom Hess now has to deal with these guys that are creating a personalized program for beginners to start at your own pace, right? Learn step by step, track your progress. It's a phone app that basically figures out where you're at and gives you a path. It gives you the sense that this is made for me. And these guys are absolutely killing it. Now, it's not at the same level as some of these. I wanted to throw in a more sort of down-to-earth example. But Coach Guitar, $4 million in revenue with 20 employees. That is not a bad business for some guy out of Paris with an app. Here's a life coaching. Again, I don't know this person. I just found him on Google. Hillsborough, I don't know. He's a business coach and a career coach and a life coach and also an environmental product test consultant. Very odd. But that guy now has to deal with, BetterUp, which of course is an app that takes an assessment, matches you with a perfect coach, does your session online, tracks your progress, and delivers an experience that this is made for me, and it's going to deliver results in a shorter time. BetterUp just raised $300 million at a $4.7 billion valuation. Is BetterUp? It's coaching, guys. It's coaching, but it's packaged in a different way. It delivers a different experience, and the results that are being had are not only orders of magnitude different scale, but they are disrupting these industries that folks like you and I have been competing in for a long time sometimes. So the point of this is that it was predictable that after we saw Facebook and Google and these large companies have, dramatic world taking over success by delivering these personalized dynamic experiences, that technology would get simpler and easier, and it would begin to move into smaller industries like finance and health and education. And what I'm here to tell you today is that what we're seeing here is just the very beginning of that process. So I know that it's tempting to think that, I'm a small business. I'm a solopreneur, or I've got 5 people and I don't know how to do software. This just isn't me that you're talking about. But what I want you to appreciate is that the trend is going to continue. What used to be very hard and expensive, the Googles and the Facebooks tackled that. Now it's just kind of hard and expensive. That's, Noom and BetterUp and Betterment and all this stuff. Pretty soon, this is going to be cheap and easy. And when that happens, a whole new round of competitors are going to show up in the space, right? What we're going to see, what we are seeing, and I'm going to show you some of the players today in the space, is a whole new breed of software development platforms that are already have existed for over a decade, some of them, but they're getting simpler and faster and cheaper and easier. And very soon, they are going to be arriving on the doorstep of people like you and me, people who aren't engineers at all. And it's going to enable the those of us on this call, no matter where we're at in the spectrum, to compete in brand new ways, to deliver our services in whole new ways, to create a kind of experience that today we can only hope to do manually, one-on-one with our clients. Now, these platforms aren't quite there yet, but let me tell you a little bit about this industry, because this stuff is coming and you're going to want to know about it. So it's called no code. You've probably heard about this by now. It is the hottest buzzword in the tech industry. Investors are pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into the no-code space. It's gotten so hot that everybody who makes software now is effectively, they're calling themselves no-code platforms because it's sexy. Of course, that's nonsense. Not every piece of software is a no-code web application development platform, but some of them are. And so I want to talk to you about the real players in this industry, and kind of what this is. So what is no-code? What no-code is it's a new category, relatively new category of software platforms that allows you to build full-on software applications, just like the ones we just looked at, using drag and drop type of tools and settings instead of hiring engineers and writing custom code to build that stuff. And people are already creating amazing pieces of software using these platforms. They're creating CRM systems, they're creating learning management systems, and booking and payment systems, customer portals, even sophisticated web apps like Airbnb could absolutely be built, eBay, absolutely built, Instagram, using these no-code platforms, and absolutely every one of the examples that we just talked about. Now, am I saying that this is something that's available to you today? I don't know. If you're an engineer, of course, you and your buddies could put something like that together. If you're engineering minded, but maybe not an engineer, you're kind of a codey sort of person, then you probably have what it takes to figure out some of these platforms and build some of these apps. Maybe some of you on this call today have already done that. Many of us on this call would find that if we went to those platforms today, we would be quickly overwhelmed. That's what I would find. And that's just sort of the state of the art today, is that they're still pretty techy. And like I said, I'm going to explain some of the players and where they're at today. But what I can tell you is that very soon, everybody on this call will be able to use one of these programs to create very sophisticated web applications. So how do I know that? Well, A, because what we've been talking about, this always happens. And B, we can look at the history of the industry here and see it happening in real time. So this concept is not new. Between 10 and 20 years ago, these companies were pioneers in this space. And at the beginning, they didn't call it no code. They called it low code because that's what it is. It was sort of some very sophisticated frameworks and tools that allowed people who actually are engineers to work much faster than they otherwise could by combining these platforms and some of the offerings that they have, online databases and interfaces and stuff like that, with their own personal code. Sorry, let me just make sure. Yeah, everything's good here. And these are all very significant businesses today: QuickBase, Betty Blocks, OutSystems, Mendix. These are all sort of the grandparents of the low code space, and very successful businesses. Now, they're extremely powerful platforms. They're not for you and me. They're expensive, and they're for coders. They're designed by coders for people who are also coders to be able to work faster. But they were so successful in doing that the sort of next generation of players came around, and that happened. Let's see. Oops. Let's go back one. Wait. Yeah. In the 7 to 10, 11, 12 years ago range, we started getting these new players in the space. They call themselves no code, and they use the term citizen developers. So they're targeted at citizen developers. Companies like Bubble, like Ninox, like AppSheet. AppSheet got bought by Google. Bubble just got $120 million investment. These are very successful platforms that are extremely powerful and allow you to build just about anything you want. It is drag and drop, true. You don't need to code really to use these things. They're very powerful platforms. However, if you're not a coder and you decided to try and learn Bubble, for example, you would get confused really fast. These platforms were built by engineers, and conceptually, they're organized like coders would organize something. They're complicated. They use the language of engineering. They're just a lot. I recommend anybody you can try Bubble, for example, for free. Go give it a shot. You may experience that there's some power there that you could harness, but most of us will also experience that this is not for them. So in the last few years, we've begun to see, again, this march towards simplicity, and we've seen tools like Airtable and Zapier and Webflow come out. Now these are even Webflow is a website builder. Airtable, many of you probably know, it's an online database, and Zapier is, we all know that, right? It connects everything via APIs. These are sort of like prosumer type of no-code tools. Many of us on this call probably could handle an Airtable. Zapier. Webflow is still kind of for developers. It's got a lot of freaking options, and it feels like a lot when you get in there. But it's also a very powerful tool that lets you create the kind of code that an engineer normally would write by hand, and they do it in a very beautiful interface. And it's one of the most popular web development platforms out there, used by typically designers and agencies to create websites. Many people try to kind of hook these tools together, Airtable and Webflow and Zapier, to try and create these web app-like experiences. And this is, I would say, represents a major step forward. It definitely, especially like the Airtables and the Zapiers, don't feel so much like they are designed for engineers by engineers. They're usable, but there's a couple of problems. One is that you have to kind of kludge everything together, string things together, and also they tend to have limited capabilities. These kind of guys have kind of swung towards simplicity in a way that doesn't allow you to build the sort of experiences that we're used to when we use web applications. You couldn't build, most of those applications using these tools. But what we can see that's coming is the true simplification of no code. Why? Because this always happens, and there are many companies working on this. This is going to be, platforms that are designed by consumer-focused product development teams like ours for normies like you. I like to think about this as the MailChimp of software development is what's next. Many of you have probably used MailChimp, or certainly have an idea of what I mean when I say MailChimp. That level of slickness and simplicity is coming to the no-code web app development space. And it's not there yet, but it's coming, and it's coming soon. And it's absolutely inevitable. And hold on, I need to make sure that I'm getting a lot of beeps. Making sure that I am not screwing something up right now. I think it's good. I don't know why I'm getting so many chimes. When the no-code web app development space becomes as simple as a MailChimp and becomes accessible to effectively every entrepreneur, the dam is going to break. That is that literally when everybody will be able to have a full-on web application in their business. And that means that lots and lots and lots of people will. And that this is right around the corner. I think it's easy to predict at this point that the sort of static website experiences that I showed you as the before model are done in 5 years. That's going to feel to many people like buying a ad in the yellow pages or prospecting with direct mail. It'll be a dead giveaway that you're stuck in the last decade. So this is coming. Your competitors in your industry, and when I don't mean teams like Betterment, I mean that realtor across town, or that gym that you compete with, or that other restaurant, or that coach, that insurance agent is going to have an app, and they're going to be delivering an experience to their customers that is going to get to be very hard to compete with. And that's not, like I said, there today, but it's right around the corner. And I think it's time for all of us to be thinking about how we're going to engage our audience using these tools. Because if we don't do it, our competitors will. I know that it seems like a lot, maybe, but I don't think that these tools have to be crazy complicated. I think that if you look at what is sort of winning about those examples that I gave you earlier, what you'll see is just a few things that you need to stand out, and maybe not even all these, but if you can kind of hit a couple, 2 or 3 of these features in an app-like experience, you're going to be delivering something that is more valuable than the sort of static kind of experiences that we're delivering today. So the very first thing that you got to do is be thinking about, how do I make this feel like it's personalized, right? How do I make my customers know that this is tailored for them? That it's not just targeted, like I didn't just advertise to, men over 50 or teen gamers or whatever it might be, but it's actually personalized for me as I interact with your business, or with the app. The experience gets more tailored and reflects my own usage more and more. So examples that we are familiar with are things like data-driven suggestions, right? That's Netflix. That is Amazon, right? You go in there and you are being given recommendations based on what you've done before, right? It's conceptually very simple. Another one that we're very familiar with, of course, is gamification, streaks and scores and prizes. People obviously respond to that kind of stuff, and they get competitive and they get excited about seeing progress, and that turns out to be a big motivator. That's why apps like Noom and Future.io, which we just talked about, are beating the personal trainer, where the best thing you can do to see your progress is maybe one more pull-up next month than you could do last month or whatever. These bodybuilding and weight loss apps are creating far more engaging experiences. The next thing, of course, is community and connection. People want to be engaged with people. I think that Peloton is an incredible example of that, right? Peloton was just could have just been another exercise bike. And if they were just another exercise bike, they would not be, listed on the New York Stock Exchange today. They are that because they created some software and they created community, right? And so now you get to know your teachers and you're taking rides with your friends, and it feels like a group experience, right? And even if it's not all of us have access to millions of people like Peloton does, and where we can create giant crowds of people. I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of times small businesses think they're going to move their communities off of Facebook and onto their own little forum or whatever, and they find out that's really challenging because people don't show up. But if you can't necessarily get a crowd, then even engaging with you, right? Imagine, say, a therapist that instead of at the end of therapy, them saying, this week I really want you to try harder to blah, 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 whatever it is. What if there was an app that was like, it's your daily check-in app. And every day at 10 o'clock, it's gonna ping you, and you're gonna go to a screen and you're gonna tell us some stuff about how it went today. And it's gonna give you a little reminder. And maybe those recommendations are getting tailored as you use the app more. And I can review your stuff on a daily basis and send you little feedback, send you a note, give you a gold star. It could be that sort of connection that happens one-on-one. You're going to have a lot of opportunity to get creative with this stuff. Obviously, convenient and high quality. Slick self-service is key. That is one of the main reasons why these apps are winning, right? I don't want to call my money coach. I want to get online and see how it's going. I don't want to talk to my financial advisor. I want day-by-day updates on my net worth or whatever Betterment is doing, right? And of course, something remarkable, new and better is always good if you can muster it. And it doesn't have to be brand new to the world. It can be something that's borrowed from another industry. It can be something that's just relatively new. You might be one of only 2 people in your town that offers a particular kind of service. Any of that is valuable. So that is the first part of this conversation that I wanted to have. The next conversation is going to be on Friday. And in that conversation, I want to talk about something a little deeper. I want to dive into kind of how the web works and how web apps work, and kind of show you some of the bones of how this stuff is. And I want to give you a sort of metaphor. I know that not everybody is a musician here, but I learned to play guitar when I was in college, and I learned early on that what do they say? Three chords and the truth, right? All you need is 3 chords and the truth, and you can play basically every rock song, and that's almost true. It's not quite 3 chords. It's maybe 10 chords, and you can play like 85% of the rock songs out there. And once you see kind of how that works, like you get your fingers around it and go like, okay, I get this CGE, and maybe I figured out what a bar chord is. All of a sudden, music as a whole, and rock and roll and the blues sort of unveils itself to be far less complicated, far more simple than you thought it was before. And it turns out the software is much like that. And what I want to do in the next call, which we're going to do on Friday at 2:30, same time we started this one, is to show you the sort of 3 chords and the truth of software building. Turns out that 85, 90% of all software apps are actually using the same 3, 4, 5 tricks, the same sort of moves. They're just doing it rearranged with a different interface and different data. And what's cool is that it doesn't take being like somebody who's creating patentable new technology to create one of these apps. You don't need to be the Steve Vai of software to create something that breaks through in your industry. In fact, each one of these platforms I talked about, especially some of the biggest ones like Noom, are using very simple tools that absolutely could be built using these no-code platforms. And when you see, I think on Friday, what some of these like 3, 4, 5 sort of tricks of the trade are, I think it's going to open you up to seeing new ideas. You're going to be able to like click around the internet and go like, oh, I see that. Here I am on Airbnb, and now I see how this thing was built. Here I am on Expedia, and I can see DoorDash, Uber. I can see what's going on here behind the scenes. And once you can kind of see through that, you'll begin to have a new capability to envision what's possible in your own business. And you can be the 3 chords and the truth of software, the Nirvana, the Rolling Stones of software. So that's what I wanted to share. I really appreciate you being here today. The next conversation is going to be a little bit longer, and it's going to be a little more in depth. So you're going to want to sort of bring your thinking cap, because we're going to get into a bit of the guts. Again, it's not code, but it is data, and it is databases. I'm going to show you kind of how these things are put together, and in a way that will reveal this stuff to you in a new way, I think. So I appreciate you being here. Let's meet again 2:30 on Friday the 19th. And then we're going to take a break over here in America. We're having Thanksgiving next week. And then on the following Tuesday, we're going to show you what Entreport has been working on for the last year to support you in meeting these challenges and opportunities in the coming year and years ahead. So thank you once again for being here. I appreciate you, and hopefully your questions got answered. We had somebody in here answering questions, and I'll look through these posts in a minute. But thank you very much. We'll see you guys on Friday, 2:30 p.m. Entreport.com/livestream. Same bat place, same bat channel. In the meantime, we'll see you in the Facebook community. Cheers.